we're going to Ottawa. Don't be frightened. I'm coming with you. Because there are doings in the nation's capital. Federal Finance Minister Jim Flaherty has come out and made some announcements regarding a new budget. And to talk about that, we are joined from Ottawa by Her Excellency, Chris Sims. Hey, bud.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to rename press conferences doings. That's awesome. Yeah. Doings in Ottawa.
Yeah, big doings.
Yes.
All right, tell us what Jim Flaherty had to say, please.
Finance Minister Jim Flaherty made it official in the foyer of the House of Commons today that it's going to be June 6th for our recycled budget. This is basically going to be the same budget that we saw on March 22nd. This time it's going to be reintroduced June 6th. He laughed and said this time it will be passed because, of course, they've got a majority now. Two key differences, though. He did say that they're now going to enter into talks for an HST, basically, it's not a bailout, it's like a compensation package with the province of Quebec. That's one of the demands that they were making before the election. Apparently, Ontario and BC got similar compensation amounts, and Quebec wants in on that too. So Minister Flaherty said that'll be, give or take, $2 billion. So they're entering into talks on that. And also, it's official, the per-vote subsidy that everybody had been talking about now for months, it's officially going to be in this revamped budget that's going to be tabled in the House of Commons. And that, of course, means the $2 per vote, say, doesn't matter if you vote for Christian Heritage, Green, or Conservative Party, $2 for every vote goes to that party for fundraising purposes, operational purposes. What Prime Minister Stephen Harper has wanted to do for a long time now is kill that subsidy, because when you're really clear about it, it's the Conservatives who don't really need it. They've got a big fundraising machine, lots of grassroots donations. They don't really depend upon it that much. However, that's not the case, particularly for the Liberal Party. So they're now putting it in writing. They're going to put this in the revamped budget that's going to be tabled soon. No more vote subsidies. It'll be phased out over time, and something the Liberal parties are going to have to readjust to in this big rebuilding phase they're in.
All right, let's take a few of the points that you mentioned. First,
sure.
June 6th. As you correctly note, D-Day is the day for the budget.
67th anniversary.
Is he calling the thing Operation Overlord? Did he say anything about that?
He didn't give it an awesome name. He basically said they're trying to show restraint and find fiscal savings, all those really, hot financial buzzwords. Okay. And he's going to be tabling it shortly after the throne speech. I believe we have our election of our speaker June 2nd, throne speech June 3rd, and now we're going to have budget June 6th. So it's all going to happen in rapid succession. And I've also been talking with the finance department. They've usually have budget implementation bills, which basically means, okay, we've named the money, now we're actually going to put it into law and put it into function. They usually have those two bills in two separate phases. And often, if it's tabled in March, they'll have that first budget implementation bill tabled, within a few weeks, and then table the second one in the fall. Now, though, we've kind of got a late start time on tabling the budget, so it'd be interesting to see if they're able to get the first budget implementation bill done before the summer break.
Yeah, okay. I want to touch just briefly on this HST hocus pocus. In the past, Jim Flaherty has been very clear that he wants to have an HST for every province, whatever, across the country. And he said there's the same formula for everyone, same formula for each province. And look, if they could have worked out the deal on transfer payments, previous Liberal governments would have done something similar to this. So you're saying he's unveiled an amount for Quebec, which presumably would be the same formula used for BC and Ontario, ending up with $2 billion. Nothing different, is there, about the formula that Quebec gets for its transfer payments?
Not as far as I can understand. They said it's officially $2.2 billion, and they weren't really precise about it. People started peppering them with questions, and then they had to wrap up their press conference because he, of course, had a very busy schedule. But it's something I'm going to be digging down on a little bit, because it's interesting to note, where does this money come from? Why is it this amount? What kind of compensation is it exactly for? It's, of course, for harmonizing the provincial sales tax and the GST. Don't need to lecture you about that. But I'd like to know exactly where the expenditure comes in, like where Quebec loses that money and why it needs to be compensated federally. Apparently, Ontario and BC have already gotten that money. So.
Yeah, and of course, then you got your exceptions, your exemptions, 5%, whatever it is that each province can do. So would you do that, Chris? Because, something, it's important to know, whether you like the HST or not, and we're from Missouri on this program about it, and we've talked to Jim Flaherty about that, it's important at least to know that everyone's getting the same formula, as Jim Flaherty has said in the past. One last question, just a few seconds left. This per-vote subsidy for the parties. Yeah, it hurts the other parties, and the Conservatives don't get hurt as much, but it's the position of this program, Chris, that regardless of who it helps or who it hurts, it's a good thing to get rid of that. There's no reason that the government should be funding political parties based on a per vote. It's dopey. Has there been some reaction so far from to that point in the proposed budget?
Newly minted interim Liberal leader Bob Rae says he doesn't like it, but that he'll have to deal with it. He was at his party's caucus meeting, which is held now off the Hill. It's in this little committee room in an old railway tunnel next to the Chateau Laurier, and he had his first press conference as interim Liberal leader and said he doesn't like it. He opposes Stephen Harper's ideology for reasons for doing it, but that he's going to have to live with it, and it's going to really affect how Liberals go forward. Because the Conservatives have the old Reform Party to grow from, the grassroots, the whole, little old lady dialing in $5 for a donation. The Liberals are going to have to get out and do that. Otherwise, they're not going to have any money. So it's going to be fascinating to see how this party manages to rebuild itself now that they're getting their main point of funding cut out from underneath them.
There she is. The excellence of execution. Her Excellency.
That was half good, just half good.
Oh, buddy. Thank you so much for joining us from Ottawa, Chris.
You bet.
Cheers.